You gave me a heads up the day before the press conference with Bob Ferguson. Governor Ferguson came on to talk about keeping Washington families working, or whatever the name of that ridiculous thing was. So he has this press conference basically bragging about the fact that they are going to stand up to the evil Trump. Now, Bob has quite the record. From 2017 to 2021, Bob Ferguson, working for us, took our money and sued the Trump administration 99 times. 56 of those cases are still pending. 39 had results. Here is the governor yesterday talking about...
Pam Bondi seems to think and seeks to have Washington State bend the knee to a Trump administration that day by day drags us closer to authoritarianism. That's not going to happen. I am not intimidated by Pam Bondi or the president. Nobody stands...
What are you laughing at? He's not finished. What do you mean?
Standing behind me is intimidated by Pam Bondi or the president. We will defend our democracy, the rule of law, and the people of our state. Now,
I love when they use minorities as props, right? Everyone behind them there. Let's get as many Hispanic people as we possibly can. Hang on.
Attorney General Pam Bondi's letter references no state laws. I suspect she's referring to the Keep Washington Working Act.
Okay, can you explain the Keep Washington Working Act? By the way, he said it was bipartisan. I saw that one Republican went with it. Does that make it bipartisan when you get one guy or gal to go with it?
Hey, everybody's got a bad day, John. This is blarney. It's just blarney. This press conference that the governor gave was a disaster for him. This is like the definition of bringing a knife to a gunfight. I mean, he is so far over his depth on this issue. So fine. Sanctuary state policy. In our state, we have sanctuary state policy. It's bad. It's a bad idea. It's one piece of law, one piece of the revised Code of Washington, this Keep Washington Working Act, which says essentially that our local law enforcement, cops, sheriff's deputies, are not allowed to coordinate, cooperate, communicate with federal immigration law enforcement, ICE, Border Patrol and ICE mostly. So they're not allowed to cooperate with those guys. It takes the form primarily of what's called an immigration detainer, which is a kind of arrest warrant for someone who's here illegally. And so ICE or Border Patrol issues the immigration detainer. They give it to the local sheriff or the police department, and they say, if you find this person, hold them, because this person is wanted because they're an illegal alien. And generally, that means the person has to commit some other crime that the sheriff's deputy or the police department picks them up on. And then they get this immigration detainer. And normally, if we didn't have Bob Ferguson as our governor, normally the local law enforcement says, okay, well, we got this immigration detainer on this person. We hold them. And we notify ICE or Border Patrol, hey, we got this person. They raped a kid. They sold drugs. They broke into a place, whatever they did. We're going to hold them until you come get them, and then you guys deal with them and you deport them. That's how it works normally, John. With the Keep Washington Working Act, the local cops can't do that. They can't tell ICE or Border Patrol, we got this guy. That's the reason we get these sex predators and these pimps and these drug dealers who get arrested for committing the drug crime or the pimp crime or the sex trafficking crime, and then they get released very quickly because we don't really enforce that stuff in Washington. Thank you, Bob Ferguson. Thank you, Jay Inslee. And they let him go when we could deport these guys if we just told ICE, hey, the Snohomish County Sheriff's Department picked this guy up. Come get him. So that's what this law does. This is the Keep Washington Working Act. Completely misnamed. Very deceitful how it was named.
Brandy Cruz. Go ahead. Go ahead.
But it's not just that piece of law that's the state sanctuary, policies. It's a bunch of executive orders that mostly the previous governor. I can't put all this on Ferguson. Mostly it was Inslee, the village idiot of Washington politics. Wow. He did these executive orders that basically further restricted how local law enforcement can help ICE. And so they hide behind the Keep Washington Working Act, which is part of it. And yes, that's state law. But a lot of the so-called sanctuary state policy isn't that. It's these other executive orders. And, the part that drives me nuts, John, is this was all, like 2/3 of it or 3/4 of it was done by executive order by Inslee. And now these same guys are whining about Trump's executive orders. It's, he's a dictator, blah, 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 blah. Well, if Trump's a dictator for using executive orders, well, then Inslee was a dictator for using executive orders.
Right.
Anyway,
he did 26 executive orders in his terms. Brandy Cruz from Undivided, I know you're a fan, I am as well. She went to the press conference and she asked this question.
We have several instances in this state. I see the chief of the patrol behind you. He just sat front row at sentencing while a man was sent to prison, an illegal alien who murdered a Washington State Patrol trooper because of our state's sanctuary policies. He could have been deported multiple times, run-ins with law enforcement, but our sanctuary policies shielded him. He went on to kill Trooper Christopher Gadd. How is that in line with our state's values?
Yeah, the words she mentioned, values, because the governor kept saying values.
He keeps saying values.
Make sure we're adopting laws that make the appropriate balance. And the Keep Washington Working Act, adopted in a bipartisan fashion, by the way, by this
one Republican
state legislature, I think strikes that right balance. If folks violate the law, engage in criminal conduct, they're going to be held accountable for that here in Washington State, and whether you're documented or undocumented. So I think those are consistent with the values of the Keep Washington Working Act, and we'll continue doing that.
Just to follow up on what Brandy was talking about, so Ralph Santana. So in 2013, misdemeanor for marijuana. 2013, driving with a revoked license. 2014, suspended revoked license. 2019, he got was it 2 years probation? He had to go to behavioral treatment for domestic violence, breaking his girlfriend's nose, and she went to the hospital. And then traveling at more than 100 miles an hour, smashes into the back of the trooper's car, killing him instantly in Marysville, leaving a wife and a child without a father. So explain to us, if we were living in a normal state, what would happen with somebody like Mr. Santana?
Well, I mean, he's a low-level punk. He's an illegal alien here illegally. Normally, the local sheriff's department would have held him. The guy had, I believe, he had a immigration detainer already, and they would have called up ICE and they would have said, "Hey guys, we picked up this deadbeat. He killed a cop." And I'm John, I'm going to say the cop's name again. It was a state trooper.
Yes,
his name was Christopher Gadd. Every time we say the punk's name, I think we need to say the guy he killed's name. Christopher Gadd was a state trooper. He was a young guy. Like you said, he had a wife, he had a kid or two kids. This was the kind of person we want to protect in our world. And this punk illegal alien beat up his girlfriend, did a bunch of bad, minor league punk, minor league criminal. This guy killed a state trooper. Now, this guy deserves to be prosecuted and deported and get the heck out of our country. But Bob Ferguson and Jay Inslee say no. The local law enforcement cannot notify ICE, cannot notify Border Patrol, can't tell them, "We got this punk, come get him." They've got to go through the process. Now, to our system's credit, this punk illegal alien, he did get convicted of killing Chris Gadd. Let's remember the person we like in the story. He did get convicted for killing the guy. But the fact is, these kind of crimes happen all the time, John. We've got a lot of illegal aliens in our state because our state is known for being soft on enforcing these laws. And it's not just a guy driving drunk or driving high and killing a state trooper. The real dirty secret, John, is the sex trafficking. These pimps and these traffickers bring kids up from South America and Central America, mostly Central America. And they're girls and they're boys and they're teens or they're preteens. They bring them up and they bring them up I-5 and they come here because they know, the pimps and the traffickers know, that Washington is softer than California and softer than Oregon about crime. And if they want to come up and they want to put these kids into sex slavery, this is the place to do it. And we've got to stop this.
Okay.
And the fact that Bob Ferguson's up there defending this bad policy is shameless, John.
Jim Walsh, representative and the head of the Republican Party of the state of Washington, speak, if you can, just take a deep breath. Why a sanctuary city? Or a sanctuary state? What is, if you talk to the people on the other side, we are doing this, making this a sanctuary because we are trying to do what?
What they do is they're invested in a Marxist, I'll say it, John, a Marxist rhetoric.
Jim, I'm asking just the other side for one moment. Speak from the other side.
It's the rhetoric of migrants, that all immigrants are the same, that migrants are migrants, and there's no distinction between a legal immigrant, the kind of people we want in our country, a legal immigrant to our country, and an illegal alien. They want to blur that distinction. And that's deadly, John. There's a big difference between a person who comes here legally to start a business, to work in tech, to work in ag. We've got a great program for bringing people to work in ag in the state. And those people do it right. They do it legally. And then there are these people who sneak across the border. They're crooks. They're criminals. They come in the wrong way. And Ferguson and Inslee and Nick Brown, our state attorney general, they want to blur that distinction. They want to pretend there's no difference between a person who comes here to write code for Microsoft. We like those people. Or a person who comes to pick pears over in Chelan. We like those people. We want those people. And someone who comes here to traffic kids or deal drugs, we don't want those people.
Right, but the people that support and passed and pushed for this sanctuary state, they wouldn't use the word Marxism. You know, you're sort of reading between the lines. You're saying that's what their intent was. But I think what they say is we want to set up a sanctuary city, so therefore the people that are here that are quote unquote undocumented, we'll make it a sanctuary so that they don't fear the police. They don't fear. So they'll go. I've always heard that therefore they feel that they can then go and report crimes to the police without fear of being deported. Therefore, we won't report, and then therefore they won't be violated. They won't be victims of crime, and they'll be able to report their crimes. Is that kind of the general like AI spit out of why sanctuary cities are set up?
Okay, yeah, John, but listen, you're good at distilling this nonsense, and listen to how many words it took you to explain the specious argument in favor of sanctuary state. It's not good logic. We want people who come here to work. We want people who come here to improve their own lives, improve all of our lives. We don't want gangbangers. We don't want drug dealers. We don't want pimps.
So
what the trouble is, we get these pimps.
Well, what happens next? So Bondi puts the letter out basically saying, hey, you're on our radar. We're watching for you. Bob says he's not bending a knee. So now whose ball is the court in, and what happens next?
Well, Bondi said in her letter there are three things that she could do if Mr. Game of Thrones won't bend the knee. What she said is, I can withhold money, and that's probably what will most likely happen. So federal grant money will get delayed. She said I could do civil action. I could do a civil lawsuit against Washington. And then she kept the big shot for the end. She said I could do a criminal action. I could come after elected officials criminally for enabling these pimps and drug dealers. I think it's going to come down to the first one, John. It's going to come down to money. The federal administration will use, Mr. Game of Thrones won't bend the knee, tough guy. They'll use that rhetoric as a reason to start cutting back federal money to our state, and that could cause some trouble for us.
There are 3 or 4 sheriffs in different counties, I think maybe it's 4 counties, that said, listen, the Constitution trumps the U.S. Constitution trumps state law. They are not going to go along with this keeping Washington families working, whatever the name of the stupid thing is. They said they will report these undocumented legal immigrants, and they will hold them and they will call ICE. Will those guys be in violation, and will Ferguson go after them?
No, they're the heroes, John, and I don't think this guy, he's wrong in the law, John. I encourage anybody, post the link, John. I encourage anybody to watch the video of that press conference yesterday. It was a train wreck for the governor. He was nervous. He was twitchy. Brandy asked him a couple of hard questions, but, John, they weren't even that hard, really. They were just questions. And he was twitchy and nervous, and he didn't answer her questions. He knows he's in the wrong on the law here. I mean, he knows he's in an untenable position. And he can, talk the rhetoric and bend the knee and all this tough guy stuff. But the fact is he's wrong on the law. And those sheriffs, and Keith Swank in Pierce is one of them. The fellow down in Adams County, down in southeast Washington is one of them. There are a couple of sheriffs who said, look, we think that the state policy is wrong. We think the governor's wrong. We are going to try to cooperate with the feds, within the limits of the law as we can. Those guys are the heroes here. Ferguson he knows he's losing. And notice, John, the state attorney general, Brown, hasn't said a word. He wasn't at the press conference, conspicuously absent.
Well, he's working on another lawsuit.
He's got some issues with his license. Yeah.
Oh, yeah, I saw that story. All right, play him out. Mr. Walsh out. There he goes. There he goes. Representative Jim Walsh, the state rep and chair of the Washington.
We're winning, John. I think we're winning.
Is that what that is?